Hello, Nash here. I'm here today to show you a game I'm working on. It's a retro first-person shooter inspired by Quake. Yes, yet another boomer shooter. Actually, this game might be familiar to you. It used to be called Elder Jam, aka Quake clone, made in 10 days. If you haven't checked that out yet, I'll put a link in the description. Anyway, Elder Jam is now called Disdain, and I've been slowly tinkering with it on and off during my free time. So today, let's have a look at some of the new stuff that's been added into the game. First of all, the menu system has been completely overhauled. It's still operating within the bounds of GZ Doom's menu system. So I guess you could say the menus are heavily reskinned. So it's got it's got tooltips up there. It'll scroll if the text is too long. Yeah. So even the save and load game screen has been customized. Yeah. So there's that. So one of the challenges of making a GZ Doom based game is how do I make it stand out? So I'm going to great lengths to customize the game's presentation, and menus definitely, I feel, is a significant part of it, I think. All right, so moving on, the player, if I turn around and look at the mirror here, so the player model has been remodeled, as well as the weapons. In Elder Jam, the player was actually a modified Quake 1 player mesh, and the weapons, while original creations, were very simplistic. So for the remodels, I looked up to the Quake, the 2021 Quake remaster as a reference for the aesthetics. So 256 by 256 textured dimensions, slightly higher poly count, around 1K range or so. Nothing too high def, just enough to round off the extremely angular look of the previous models and textures that are high res enough to show a little more detail, but still remain chunky and pixelated. I love me some unfiltered textures. So yeah, speaking of textures, I did make sure to make the texture filtering optional. So if for whatever reason you like a smooth filtering, trilinear filtering, it's there. You can turn it on. And there's also a pixelator option. If you want extra chunky graphics, it won't be on by default, but it's there if you want it. So yeah, that's super chunky. Just gonna disable that and re-enable classic mipmapped FXAA. So yeah, anyway, back to the models. So the player's been remodeled. Disdain guy looking pretty good. I still plan to go over his costume design. It's a bit plain right now. I plan to add some accents for more color variety, which will be helpful when recoloring the player model in multiplayer. Speaking of multiplayer, yes, Disdain will support both 8-player cooperative and deathmatch right out of the box. Even Elder Jam supported co-op play, so I'm just continuing the tradition here. So you'll be able to customize the player color and stuff. This menu hasn't been reskinned yet, by the way. it's still using the default GZ Doom menu layout. I'll get around to that eventually. So you can just color a player whatever you like. So you got color presets. Let's go with pink, because why not? Right, so weapons. First up, we've got the sword. So the sword is actually inspired by, partially inspired by Lo Wang's katana from the 1997 version of Shadow Warrior. So you can, hold down the button and just, continue to hold down the button and slice your enemies while moving around, It'll randomly choose between a predetermined amount of sword animations. Some animations are faster than others. This sort of mimics the animation in Shadow Warrior. I might tweak the speeds a little more though, once I test it out with actual enemies, So it's got, camera sway. And, of course, I plan to make the enemies have a custom, cut in half animation when you kill them with a sword. So that will come when I start, remodeling the enemies, which I have not actually completed yet. So that is next up on the list. So what else? From a gameplay perspective, I was planning on making it so that the sword is able to leech health points, when you hit enemies with it. So we'll have to see how that turns out. All right. So next is the shotgun. It's a shotgun. It's your starter weapon alongside the sword. Can fire at a decent speed. Doesn't spread too much. I mean, unless it's like a really far distance, then it'll start to spread, of course. And yeah, it's even got empty shells that'll eject. So it's even got smoke coming out of it, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and restock up the ammunition here. The ammo pickups have not been remodeled yet as well. That'll come. So next up is the super shotgun, or double barrel, whatever you want to call it. You already know what this is. Lots of spread, lots of pellets, lots of damage up close. Poor guy. So I spent some time adding, camera kick, just so you can, really feel these weapons when you fire them. I feel like it adds a lot of weight. But if you don't like those, of course, you can disable them. Here under view tilting. So, you can turn it off. Because I understand, some people might get, motion sickness and stuff like that. So, good to know that it's optional there. So weapon sway is, you can turn it on and off as well. So weapon sway is, when you move the camera and the hand model sort of just follows the camera movement, but lagging slightly. And the weapon model will, bob up and down with vertical movement as well, which is a pretty cool thing. So I even got full damage here, which sounds very painful. Right, so next up is the chain gun, of course. Let me just angle my mic a little bit. Sorry about that. Oops. All right, so chain gun. By the way, I might rename these weapons in future. Right now they all have basic names, sort of just reflect on what these weapons are, functionally. Chain gun is, as you expect, it's a rapid firing weapon. So in Elder Jam, I fixed the animation. In Elder Jam, there was some glitch with the chain gun animation. So yeah, it's not glitchy anymore. Right? And lastly, of course, for now at least, is the rocket launcher. You know the drill, very damaging. don't fire it up close, or you'll get splash damage. So I'd like to quickly mention that, you know, unlike Doom, weapon damage randomization is completely disabled in Disdain. So, you know, it's a deliberate design choice. I just prefer, you know, no randomization for the weapon damage. So yeah, there's that. And what else? Let's see. Oh, player has some air control as well. So, you know, if I jump here, and then I can sort of cancel the jump if I press the opposite direction, you know. So I can sort of influence the movement direction even after jumping, or rather while in midair. So that'll be useful for some of the platforming levels, which I plan to make eventually. All right, so next up, I'd like to talk about a very cool feature made for Disdain, and that is light maps. Let me just switch to another map. So light maps are, you know, unlike dynamic lights, light maps are pre-calculated lights that are done outside of the game, which allows for some really advanced lighting, you know, like radiosity, you know, ambient occlusion, shadows, stuff like that. So a bit of history: the light map branch was originally created by DP Judas for GZ Doom in 2019, but it was abandoned before it got past the proof of concept stage, right? So the code lay dormant for almost 3 years, until I went back, you know, I went back to the old code and tried to resurrect it specifically for Disdain. So the light map code from 2019 was unmergeable with GZ Doom as of today, which is version 4.71. Sorry, 4.7.1. So I spent an entire day porting the code to the current GZ Doom codebase. Although I managed to get it to compile, it didn't quite work. So I reached out to DP Judas asking if he could help, and gladly he said yes. So right now the light maps are currently developed specifically for Disdain, but once it's reached a polished enough state, it'll be backported into mainline GZ Doom, of course. Anyway, let's check out the light maps. This is a deathmatch map called DMO1. Let me just actually enable deathmatch mode. Deathmatch 1, SV item respawn. Yeah, so this is the deathmatch map. It's inspired by Quake's A Place of Two Deaths. So the program that's used to bake lighting is called ZD-Ray. And you know, it's basically a GPU-based path tracer that uses Vulkan's ray tracing API. So if you have an RTX card, baking is really fast, but you know, it will also work on non-RTX cards, albeit a little bit slower. So finally, there is also a CPU-based path tracer as a fallback. You know, if you don't have any Vulkan-enabled graphics hardware, you can still use that. Though, you know, it'll be really slow to bake lighting on a on a CPU. You know, it might take days, but the option is there if you want to use it. So maybe, you know, why don't I just spawn a few bots, just for fun. So, to be honest, GZ Doom's bots, they're not good. I mean, they're way too OP, you know. Their pathing is broken, but they're useful for testing purposes. So yeah, as you can see, you know, they're really OP. It's like they have some kind of aim hack enabled. And then in this case, this guy is he's just not moving. So if you're wondering why the recording is cut off, it's because the power went out while I was recording. So I had to continue this off in a separate recording. Right? So I guess that's a bit of the light maps. All right, so now before I leave off, I'd like to show some of the other features made for, well, for co-op that Disdain will ship with. So actually, let me just quit this and start a simulated co-op game. All right, so this is actually a simulated co-op game. It's just basically just running. Sorry, it's just running a Disdain, 2 instances of Disdain on the same machine. First of all, as you can see, player-to-player collision is disabled, so I can walk right through. You know, you can walk right through your friends. You can even shoot through them. You know. I might make this optional. We'll see. And then, well, let's see what else. Next up is item pickups. Let me just turn up the brightness here. It's a bit dark here. Item pickups are actually per player. So what that means is, if I pick up you know, these ammo boxes, so it's gone for me, but it's actually not gone for the other players. So, you know, this allows every player a chance to pick up their own copies of the items. Right, so as you can see, let's switch back to player 1. I'm just going to grab all of these. So they're all gone for player 1, but they're still available for, you know, the other players. And next up, for the weapons, weapon pickups are shared. So what that means is, if one player picks up a weapon, every player will have the weapon added automatically to their inventory as well. So yeah, the weapon pickups are shared. So these options are added based on what I find lacking from playing, you know, cooperative Quake and Doom games online. This is stuff I personally want in a game like this. Also, you can see player name overlays on the screen. So, you know, oftentimes when playing co-op, you know, like we find ourselves asking, hey, you know, where are you? Where are you? You know, so hopefully this will solve the problem. So you've got player overlays, and you can see, whoops, I've got the map debug turned on. Let's turn it off. Yep. So you can see player markers on the map as well. So hopefully it'll be helpful. And of course, all these features are enabled only for co-op. You know, in single player and deathmatch, these features are disabled. All right, so that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this quick look at Disdain. If you like my, if you'd like to follow my progress, check out my Twitter or my Discord. Oh yeah, I actually forgot to show off one more thing. You can actually jib the enemy corpses now. Which is, you know, always satisfying. So yes, yeah, Disdain, you know, check out my Twitter, my Discord, and all that good stuff. Also, if you'd like to support my game development activities, consider subscribing to my Patreon. This would help me a lot, and you'll also get some cool benefits, you know, like early whips, work in progress, and stuff like that. Links are in the description as always. All right, cheers.